In news from Jamaica, the results are in from the air quality study from the blaze at the Riverton Landfill over the last 2 weeks. The study found that the sample taken on March 13 to 14 showed that there were high levels of hazardous substances, including benzene, in the air. Long-term exposure to benzene has been linked to causing cancers such as leukemia. According to the United States Center for Disease Control, long-term exposure should be quantified as over a year. Jamaica's acting chief medical officer, Dr. Marion Bullock Ducasse, explained that the amount of benzene found at the site was the highest ever recorded by the health ministry. Dr. Ducasse advised that low-level emissions of benzene are found in vehicle exhaust and cigarettes. She says that high levels of benzene exposure can lead to symptoms such as dizziness, headaches, and irregular heartbeat. The health ministry is advising persons who were affected by the Riverton fire to continue taking precautions such as staying indoors and using masks to prevent excessive smoke inhalation. Meanwhile, the health ministry has started work to begin conducting research on the effects of the air pollutants associated with fires at disposal sites. They will be seeking aid from the regional and international partners. Meanwhile, one research group has been assessing the impact of the recent Riverton City landfill fire. The Caribbean Policy and Research Institute, CAPRI, contends that the persistent blaze affected productivity and was a grave public health hazard. Having assessed the damage, the group is proposing several recommendations to government to better manage the disposal site. Among the solutions, CAPRI is suggesting better garbage disposal. In formulating their response, the private think tank studied 3 countries, Japan, Singapore, and Barbados. Their findings indicated that the countries boast very efficient recycling systems.
And of importance is a very robust recycling system, which has been working for Barbados and the other 2 countries mentioned. They also have a number of return on deposit initiatives, which is really you take your waste in terms of plastic bottles and glass bottles to the relevant recycling sites and you get paid for it. I know Jamaica also encourages this in terms of glass bottles, but we need to be more aggressive for other items such as plastic, and this is also done for appliances, etc.
Meanwhile, Research Officer Altricia Dawson says the government must seriously consider the security of the landfill. Ms. Dawson argues that the disposal site is extremely open and may be prone to arsonists.
The frequent use of the site by communities around it. It's both a hazard to the persons using it, but also it leaves us exposed to instances of arson. We also looked at the daily management of the site. There are a number of initiatives that can take place on site that need to be put in place immediately. We may not be able to do a grand scale sorting of items at the moment, but there are certain things such as plastics, tires, etc. that we need to make an initiative now to separate these from our garbage disposal system.
And there is also the proposal that the government enter into public-private partnerships to monitor the waste disposal site.
We are asking the policy makers to look into whether or not we can have such a company come to places such as Riverton and look at what's the type of waste that we have there, how can we separate the waste properly, and then how can we get these companies to actually make money, and while doing that help us in the process.
The group has estimated that the fire cost an approximate $102 million to extinguish. It also places productivity loss at $136 million. And the question of whether National Solid Waste Management Authority NSWMA boss Jennifer Edwards should be fired was placed to the co-executive director of CAPRI, Dr. Damian King. An update now on the fire at the Riverton disposal site in Kingston, Jamaica. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, says their operations continue to lead success. Trucks continue to haul soil from facilities at Ferry in St. Catherine and Bull Bay in St. Thomas to spread over the burnt areas to reduce smoke emission and to prevent rekindling. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, cautions that despite these successes, there is still the possibility that there could be smoke nuisance in the communities closest to the Riverton City disposal site.